Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cooking by Approximation. I'm your host, and today we're going to be making a lovely homemade pasta with an accompanying pasta sauce. We're going to do the old Italian tradition of a divot flour dough, with the exception of doing it in a large bowl with equal parts water and oil. If you're wondering why we are not using eggs for this traditional method, well, quite simply, I am in between jobs right now and sick and cooking this at 3 o'clock in the morning. Therefore, no eggs, nor am I triping to a 7-Eleven trying to find a carton of eggs. But, as you can see, this surprisingly vegan pasta dough comes together quite nicely, and we're just going to take some plastic wrap, we're going to wrap it up quite nicely, and we're going to take it and throw it in the freezer for the purposes of recording this video. You at home should absolutely only put it in the fridge for 30 minutes. We just needed it a little bit quicker than that. Moving on, we're going to get a sauce started. We're starting with on medium heat. That's my medium heat on a gas stove. We're going to throw some olive oil in our pan. I apologize if I sound a little sniffly. I am sick while recording this. Meanwhile, we're going to take our pepper grinder and crank some freshly ground black pepper. And then we're going to grab some Italian seasoning. Now, you can maybe season it yourself with everything in there, but I find that food scientists do a better job of making a concoction. Lastly, we're going to put some seasoning salt in there because, quite frankly, it tastes better than regular salt. And that's it. If you can also omit this to make your dish vegan, but I'm not a vegan, so I'm putting some cut up chicken cutlets in here and allowing them to sear and not only get a better depth of flavor to the dish, but also seasoning the oil so we can have some better chicken flavoring in the sauce. We're going to flip it and give it a little stir, and then we're just going to put the lid back on and just let it be for about 10-15 minutes. I would say probably that's how long you should do it at home, and then we're going to throw in the crushed tomatoes. Now, this is key because we're doing it all in one pot. This makes it so you don't have a countertop that looks like mine just off to the right there. Now we're going to stir all that oil in and incorporate it before we start bringing in our second secret ingredient, which is, quite frankly, my favorite thing on the planet, bouillon. You can get this stuff from Costco for a couple bucks, and just taking one little spoonful from it that you'll see on screen is just enough to add enough chicken flavor to a dish that, if you're running low on actual meat to flavored dishes and stuff, and because meat can be expensive, this is a good way to get that flavor without necessarily having to, break the bank on the meat itself when things are more expensive. We're just going to let this simmer here for a brief moment before we start the process of adding all of our spices, which are going to be a lot of the exact same things we added when seasoning the oil, with the added addition of both garlic, which you can have in any variety, whether it's pre-chopped, powdered, or minced in a jar, which I got from the store, or an onion. I used the minced version, dried version, as well as some sugar. That's important too. We're going to put our cover on top of here and get started on the process of making our noodles. We're going to turn the heat on the sauce low here so we're not, melting our cutting board. We're going to take our beautiful little golden egg out of its saran wrapped shell, and then we're going to basically piece off we're going to just work on it a little bit so we can piece off some of the dough for our meal. And then we're just going to end up wrapping that all back up and saving it for a later date. From here, we're going to start the process of kneading our dough into a oblong shape, of which you can cut any which way or even pick off pieces of dough from it, as long as you turn your pasta into the sort of soft, disc-shaped, flat, and very thin pasta you see before you. It adds a great mouth texture, as well as a very simple and quick way to cook. We're going to end up adding the pasta into some salt water that is seasoned with Lowry seasoning salt, because I actually don't have any real salt in the house at the moment. You're going to cook these for about anywhere between 3 to 7 minutes, depending on how rocking the water is. This water wasn't necessarily boiling yet, so I threw it in a little longer. The pasta is going to be rising to the top when you are ready to take it off. We're going to throw some olive oil on a flat surface, and we're going to just take the pasta and spoon it out carefully onto the olive oil, just to sort of like make it so it can't spill. I didn't want to use a colander here because I was scared about the structural integrity of the pasta itself. We're just sort of getting as much out of it as we can. There's a little bit of spillage, but the burners are off at this point, so there's no worry of a fire hazard, though I would recommend doing this on an actual service. I'm just starving for space. After draining everything out, we throw everything back in, and more in the, ones we lost, of course. And then we start the process of plating up. I will say that while I initially thought it was undercooked, the moment I had some sauce on it on a plate and I had sat down with it, it was definitely done, and I highly recommend getting this and trying it yourself. I had this done in about 15-20ish minutes, and it was such a joy to eat. Thank you guys for watching Cooking by Approximation. I genuinely enjoy making these videos. Please consider joining my Patreon, and I'll see you guys in the next video. God, this was good. Remember, this can be vegan also if you get rid of the bouillon and the chicken. So for anybody looking for vegetarian or vegan options, this is completely doable.
Poggers.